Lena stood outside the iron gates of Silverstone Manor, rain soaking through her worn cotton dress. In her trembling hands, she clutched a cream envelope with gold lettering, an invitation to Prince David's celebration. The security guard, a thick-necked man named Torres, sneered at her muddy shoes. "Deliveries go around back," he said, not bothering to look at her face. "I'm not delivering anything. I'm a guest." Lena's voice was steady despite her racing heart. Torres laughed, a harsh sound that made her flinch. "You, a guest? Let me see that." She handed him the invitation. He glanced at it for 3 seconds before crumpling it. "Nice try. These forgeries are getting better. Where'd you print this?" "The copy shop on Market Street." "It's real. Please check your registry. My grandmother's name is Elena Reyes. The late Duke gave her this invitation 15 years ago." Torres's expression darkened. "Elena Reyes? The thief who stole from the Duchess? You've got nerve showing up here." A crowd began to gather. People in expensive clothes whispered and pointed. Phones came out. Someone was recording. Lena felt heat rise to her cheeks, but she stood her ground. "My grandmother was no thief. She saved Prince David's life when he was a child. The Duke gave her lifetime access to estate events. It's all documented under Estate Law 203. A woman in a red gown emerged from the manor. Lena recognized her from news reports. Victoria Ross, the Duchess's chief of staff. Her smile was cold as winter. "What seems to be the problem, Torres?" "Street kid with a fake invitation, ma'am. Claims to be Elena Reyes's granddaughter." Victoria's eyes glittered. "Ah yes. The family that thought they could steal from royalty. How desperate you must be to come here after all these years." "My grandmother saved the prince's life," Lena said quietly. "She pulled him from the lake. She gave him CPR. Without her, he would have died. Your grandmother was a criminal. She was caught stealing jewelry and banished. That invitation," Victoria gestured dismissively, "was revoked when she was convicted." "That's not true. I have proof." "Empty her pockets, Torres. Let's see what else she planned to steal tonight." Humiliation burned through Lena as Torres forced her to turn out her pockets. A few coins. A bus ticket. And the silver locket her grandmother had given her, a small weaving shuttle charm on a thin chain. Someone in the crowd threw their champagne. The liquid splashed across Lena's chest, staining her dress dark. Laughter rippled through the gathering. Lena bent to retrieve her locket, which had fallen in the mud. Torres's boot came down, not quite on her hand, but close enough to make her freeze. "Leave it. Probably stolen anyway." She looked up at the crowd. Every face showed the same thing: contempt, amusement, pity. No one saw her as human. She was just entertainment. Slowly, Lena stood. She didn't wipe the champagne from her dress. She didn't cry. She looked directly at the security camera mounted above the gate, then at Victoria. "My grandmother died believing Prince David would remember her kindness. She died believing this estate had honor. I see now she was wrong." She walked away with her head high, leaving the silver locket in the mud. The gates slammed behind her. What Lena didn't know was that inside the manor, in a security office filled with monitors, Prince David had been reviewing arrival footage. He watched the girl walk away. He watched Torres toss her locket into a lost and found box. David's hand went to his desk drawer. Inside, wrapped in silk, was a silver locket identical to the one he'd just seen. He'd carried it for 15 years, a gift from the woman who saved his life. His fingers trembled as he reached for the phone. "Find her," he said. "Find Lena Reyes. Now. Have you ever been treated as invisible by people who should have seen you? Have you stood up for truth when everyone called you a liar? Drop a comment below sharing your story. Hit that like button if you want to see what happens next, and subscribe for more powerful stories of courage and redemption. Next chapter drops soon. You won't want to miss it. 3 weeks earlier, Lena had knelt beside her grandmother's bed in their small apartment on the edge of Riverside District. Elena's breathing was labored, each breath a struggle. Her hand, thin and papery, gripped Lena's wrist with surprising strength. "The boy," Elena whispered. "The lake. You must find him. Grandmother, please rest. Don't tire yourself. Find him. The prince. He promised." Elena's eyes burned with intensity despite her fever. "He promised he'd remember." Those were her last words. 3 days after the funeral, Lena found the envelope hidden in her grandmother's craft box, beneath spools of thread and weaving tools. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was the invitation to Prince David's celebration at Silverstone Manor, embossed with gold ink and sealed with the Duke's crimson stamp. A letter accompanied it, written in Elena's careful handwriting. "My dearest Lena, if you're reading this, I'm gone. 15 years ago, I saved a drowning boy from the estate lake. His father, the Duke, gave me this invitation as thanks. He said it grants lifetime access under Estate Law 203. The boy's name was David. He's a prince now. Go to him. Let him see what his promise meant. Let him know I never regretted diving in. Your loving grandmother." Lena read it 7 times. Her grandmother, a simple weaver in the textile district, a hero who saved the prince's life? None of it made sense. Elena had been banished when Lena was 6. Everyone said she was a thief who stole from Duchess Margaret. But dying people don't lie about such things. Lena worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. During the day, she assisted at Dr. Park's medical clinic. Evenings, she cleaned offices in the business district. Late nights, she worked at a 24-hour laundromat, folding clothes until dawn. She'd saved $300 over 2 years. She spent $250 on a bus ticket to the capital and a simple dress from a thrift store. She had $50 left to her name. The manor rose before her like a glass mountain. Luxury cars lined the curved driveway. Women in designer gowns glided past, sparkling with diamonds. Men in tailored suits laughed over cigars. This was a different world, one where Lena clearly didn't belong. Her dress, though clean, was obviously second-hand. Her shoes, repaired with tape where the sole had separated, left her feet blistered. But she had the invitation, clutched tight in a plastic bag to protect it from rain. She joined the line at the entrance, ignoring the stares and whispers. The woman ahead of her wore perfume that probably cost more than Lena's monthly rent. When Lena reached the security checkpoint, Torres looked her up and down with undisguised disgust. That's when everything fell apart. Now, riding the bus back to Riverside in her champagne-stained dress, Lena stared out the window at the city lights blurring past. She had no job waiting. She'd taken unpaid leave from all 3 positions to make this trip. She had $50 and no prospects. But worse than the financial disaster was the humiliation. 4 million people had watched her degradation online. The video was everywhere. Hashtag gates closed. Hashtag delusional orphan. Hashtag street kid exposed. The comments were brutal. Know your place. Grandmother was a thief. Granddaughter's a liar. This is what happens when poor people get ideas. Lena watched the video once on a borrowed phone at the bus station. She didn't watch it again. What would be the point? The damage was done. By the time she returned to Riverside, her carefully constructed life had collapsed. Dr. Park's clinic called first. "Lena, I'm sorry. The video. Patients are asking questions. I can't have controversy in a medical practice." She'd worked there for 4 years. The office cleaning company called next. Then the laundromat owner left a voicemail. Find work elsewhere. Bad for business. Her landlord came by that evening. You've got until Saturday. This attention affects property values. Lena sat on the floor of her empty apartment, holding her grandmother's letter. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, she felt utterly alone. 7 days after the incident at Silverstone Manor, Lena stood at the edge of Morrison Bridge. The river flowed 30 feet below, dark and cold under the midnight sky. In her pocket was a note written on torn notebook paper. I can't do this anymore. Forgive me, grandmother. I tried. The village council had summoned her that morning. 12 community leaders sat in a semicircle in the town hall, their faces carved from stone. The entire district watched from benches behind them. Lena stood alone in the center. Elder Chan spoke first, his voice booming across the hall. Lena Reyes, you have brought shame to Riverside. Your delusions have made us a laughingstock across the region. We demand a public apology. Recorded and posted online. Admit you lied about the invitation. Admit your grandmother was a thief. Lena's voice was steady. I won't apologize for telling the truth. Then you are no longer welcome here. She'd been sleeping in an abandoned warehouse for 3 nights. The building had been condemned 5 years ago. Broken windows, rusted equipment, rats in the walls. But it had a roof. She carried everything she owned in one backpack. 2 dresses, a bar of soap, her grandmother's letter, and the crumpled remains of the invitation she'd collected from the manor gates. She didn't have the silver locket. Torres still had it. For 3 days, she ate nothing. On the 4th day, she found a bakery dumpster behind the market. The bread was 2 days old, covered in mold. She scraped off what she could and ate. The hunger was manageable. The isolation was not. Former friends crossed the street when they saw her. Mothers pulled their children away. The baker's son, who used to smile at her, spat at her feet. She was invisible. Worse, she was visible only as a cautionary tale. On day 7, she wrote the note. She folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. She walked to Morrison Bridge, the same river where Elena had saved young Prince David 15 years ago. She stood at the railing. The water rushed below, promising an end to the pain, the humiliation, the crushing weight of being unwanted. Her fingers gripped the cold metal. She closed her eyes. Child, what are you doing up there? Lena turned. An elderly woman stood at the foot of the bridge. She wore a simple dress and carried a medical bag. Her face was kind, deeply lined with age. Nothing. I'm fine. You're standing on a bridge in the rain at midnight. You're not fine. The woman climbed the steps slowly, joints creaking. I'm Dr. Park. I used to employ you at my clinic. Lena's breath caught. I know who you are. Dr. Park reached the top and stood beside her. I heard what happened at the manor. I saw the video. Then you know I'm a liar. I know you're Elena's granddaughter. And I know your grandmother was no thief. Lena turned to face her. You knew her. I was the doctor on duty the night Prince David nearly drowned. Your grandmother saved his life. I treated the boy afterward. Hypothermia, water in his lungs. Without her, he would have died. The rain fell harder. Lena's voice broke. Then why did everyone say she stole from the Duchess? Because the truth was more dangerous than a lie. Come with me. There's something you need to see. Dr. Park's house was small but warm. She made tea and set a plate of bread and cheese on the table. Lena ate slowly, ashamed of her hunger but unable to stop. The doctor disappeared into a back room and returned with a metal lockbox. Your grandmother gave me this the day she was banished. She made me promise to keep it safe, to give it to you when you were grown, and only if she was gone. She unlocked it. Inside were documents, photographs, and letters. Dr. Park laid them out one by one. First, the original invitation signed by the late Duke Marcus. The crimson seal was intact. At the bottom, handwritten in ink, for Elena Reyes, who gave my son his life back. Access granted under Estate Law 203, in perpetuity. Second, a photograph. Young Prince David in a hospital bed, maybe 11 years old. He was smiling. Beside him sat Elena, younger and radiant. The Duke stood behind them, hand on Elena's shoulder. Third, a child's drawing in crayon on paper, a woman pulling a boy from blue waves. At the bottom, in a child's handwriting, the lady who saved me. I will never forget her. David. Lena's hands trembled as she held the drawing. He remembered, she whispered. He did. But they made sure he couldn't find her. Fourth, a notarized testimony dated 16 years ago. Elena's signature at the bottom. Lena read it slowly, her grandmother's words describing what she'd witnessed. Duchess Margaret meeting with a foreign businessman in the estate gardens late at night. An embrace. A kiss. Elena had been delivering textiles for a commission. She'd seen too much. Victoria Ross had found her 3 days later. Forget what you saw, or your granddaughter will pay. Elena refused to lie in official testimony. So Victoria framed her, planted jewelry in Elena's weaving bag, accused her of theft. The conviction was sealed within a week. Your grandmother was banished to protect the Duchess's secret, Dr. Park said. And to protect you. Victoria threatened you specifically. Elena left to keep you safe. Lena stared at the documents. Proof. Real, tangible proof. Why didn't you come forward? I was afraid. I'm ashamed of that now. But Lena, you're not afraid. You stood at those manor gates and told the truth even when the world called you a liar. That's courage your grandmother would recognize. What do I do with this? That's your choice. But I'll tell you what I know. Prince David hosts a charity fundraiser in 3 weeks. Public event. Anyone can buy a ticket for $150. Large donors get a private meeting with him. I don't have $150. I do. And I owe your grandmother a debt I can never repay. Let me help you. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Because I was silent once, and it cost a good woman everything. I won't be silent again. Over the next 3 weeks, Lena worked as Dr. Park's night assistant at the clinic. Cleaning, filing, restocking supplies. The pay was minimal, but it came with a storage room where she could sleep. During the day she researched. She learned everything about Estate Law 203. She memorized protocols for formal events. She practiced what she'd say if she got 5 minutes with Prince David. Dr. Park contributed $2,000. An elderly archives clerk named Marcus, who remembered Elena fondly, gave $1,500. Together with Lena's savings, they reached $6,000. Enough for platinum donor status. Guaranteed private meeting with the prince. Lena bought the ticket online. She borrowed a simple silver dress from Dr. Park's daughter. She practiced walking in shoes that didn't hurt. She stopped checking the viral video comments. She stopped thinking about the bridge railing. She chose to be seen. On the morning of the fundraiser, she stood in front of a mirror. The girl staring back was thin and tired, but unbroken. "Grandmother," she whispered, "if he doesn't remember you, at least he'll know I tried." She didn't know that across the city at Silverstone Manor, Prince David was staring at the silver locket he'd taken from the lost and found box. He'd been searching for Lena Reyes for 3 weeks. Tonight, their paths would cross again. The charity fundraiser was held in Silverstone Manor's East Ballroom, smaller than the main hall but no less impressive. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. 500 guests mingled in evening wear, champagne glasses in hand. Lena arrived at 7 p.m. sharp. She wore the borrowed silver dress and carried a leather portfolio, Dr. Park's idea. Inside were copies of every document from the lockbox. Her platinum donor badge was pinned to her chest. Her hands didn't shake this time. Security waved her through without incident. No one recognized her from the viral video. The dress helped. So did her posture. She walked like she belonged. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Waiters circulated with hors d'oeuvres. A string quartet played near the stage. At the front of the room, a podium stood ready for the evening's program. Lena found a spot near the back and observed. Victoria Ross stood near the stage, clipboard in hand, directing staff. She wore an emerald gown, and her jade ring caught the light. Torres stood by the VIP entrance, arms crossed, scanning the crowd. Lena's pulse quickened. She lowered her head and moved to the opposite side of the room. The program began at 7:30. A healthcare minister gave opening remarks about the children's hospital the fundraiser would support. Polite applause. Then a video montage of sick children receiving treatment. Tissues appeared across the room. At 8 p.m., Prince David took the stage. He wore a dark suit, no royal regalia. He looked tired, older than his 26 years. But when he spoke, his voice was steady and warm. Thank you all for coming tonight. Every dollar raised goes directly to pediatric care for children who can't afford treatment. This cause is personal to me. When I was 11, I nearly drowned. A stranger saved my life. I've spent 15 years trying to honor that gift. This hospital is part of that promise. He didn't elaborate. The crowd applauded warmly. Now, we'll recognize our platinum donors. These individuals contributed $6,000 or more. Please join me on stage for a brief thank you. 20 people stood. Lena was 21st. They formed a line at the stage steps. One by one, David shook hands, posed for photos, exchanged a few words. Each interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds. Lena's turn came. She climbed the steps, heart pounding. David extended his hand, smiling automatically. Then his eyes met hers. He froze. The smile vanished. His hand hung in the air between them. You, he whispered. The room was too loud for anyone else to hear. Lena took his hand. Your Highness. You're Elena's granddaughter. Yes. His grip tightened. You came to my celebration. You had my invitation. And my guards. It's all right. It's not all right. His voice was raw with emotion. I've been searching for you for 3 weeks. My investigator found you 2 days ago. I was going to come to you, but... He stopped, glanced around. Victoria was watching from the wings, eyes narrowed. David released Lena's hand and addressed the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse me for a moment. Miss Reyes and I have something to discuss. Continue enjoying the evening. He gestured toward a side door. Please. 5 minutes. Lena followed him off the stage. Victoria moved to intercept, but David held up a hand. Not now. They entered a small study off the ballroom. David closed the door, muffling the music and chatter. He turned to face her. Up close, she could see the tension in his jaw, the shadows under his eyes. I owe you an apology. This estate owes you an apology that we can never fully repay. Your Highness, please. Just David. He ran a hand through his hair. I watched the security footage. I watched them throw champagne at you. I watched Torres step on your hand. I watched you walk away in the rain. You were there. I was reviewing arrival footage when it happened. I didn't know who you were at first. But then I saw this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver locket. He placed it on the desk between them. I took it from the lost and found box that night. Because I have one just like it. He opened a drawer and retrieved a second locket, identical to the first. Your grandmother gave this to me 15 years ago. She pulled me from the lake, got me breathing again, and when I was conscious, she pressed this into my palm. She said, remember this. Remember kindness. I never forgot her face. But I didn't know her name. My parents told me she'd moved away. I asked about her for years. They said they'd lost touch. His voice cracked. They lied. Lena opened the portfolio and laid the documents on the desk. The photograph, the testimony, the drawing. David picked up his childhood drawing, hands shaking. I made this in the hospital. I was so scared I'd forget her. He looked up at Lena, eyes wet. Why didn't she come back? Why didn't she tell me what they did? Because Victoria threatened me. My grandmother left to keep me safe. David's face hardened. Victoria. Lena showed him the testimony. He read it slowly, lips moving. When he finished, he was silent for a long moment. My mother had an affair. Yes. And Victoria covered it up by framing your grandmother. Yes. For 15 years, I've been searching for the woman who saved my life. And for 15 years, my mother's chief of staff has been sitting across from me in meetings, knowing exactly where she was, knowing what she did. He stood abruptly, paced the small room. Do you know what this means? My mother, Duchess Margaret, was complicit. She let an innocent woman be destroyed to hide her shame. He stopped, looked at Lena. And I've been funding Victoria's salary, trusting her advice, letting her run estate security. You didn't know. I should have known. His voice was sharp with self-recrimination. You came to my celebration with a legitimate invitation, and my guards called you a liar. They humiliated you in front of millions. Because I didn't ask questions. Because I trusted the wrong people. Lena stepped closer. David, I didn't come here for revenge. I came because my grandmother's last wish was for you to know she never regretted saving you. Even after everything. He stared at her. Why are you so calm? After what they did. After what I let happen. Because anger is heavy. I've carried enough weight. David sank into a chair, rubbed his eyes. When he looked up, his expression was resolute. Lena, I can't undo what was done. But I can make sure it never happens again. Will you trust me? Will you stand beside me tomorrow when I confront them publicly? Publicly. I'm calling an emergency assembly. Estate court, press, witnesses. I'm going to present this evidence. I'm going to ask my mother and Victoria to explain themselves in front of the region. And I want you there, visible, undeniable proof that Elena's legacy cannot be erased. Lena's breath caught. They'll destroy me again. Not if I'm standing with you. Not if the truth is documented. I'm asking you to be brave one more time. Not for me. For your grandmother. Let the region see you. Let them know who Elena really was. She thought of the bridge railing. The suicide note. The viral video comments. She thought of Dr. Park's words. You're not afraid. What do I have to do? Just sit beside me. I'll do the talking. All you have to do is exist. Can you do that? Yes. David stood, extended his hand. Not a formal handshake this time, a pact. Tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Silverstone Manor throne room. I'll send a car for you. I don't need. Please. Let me do this one thing right. They returned to the ballroom. The fundraiser continued, music and laughter filling the space. Victoria watched them emerge from the study, jaw tight. David walked directly to her. Victoria, clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I'm calling an emergency assembly of the estate court. Your Highness, tomorrow is. May I ask what this concerns? You'll find out with everyone else. He turned and walked away. Victoria's eyes followed him, then slid to Lena. For just a moment, fear flashed across her face. Lena met her gaze and didn't look away. The next morning, Lena arrived at Silverstone Manor in a car sent by Prince David. No gates slammed this time. Security waved her through with respectful nods. She was escorted to a private sitting room where a stylist waited. His Highness requested I help you prepare for the assembly, the woman said kindly. Only if you'd like. Lena nodded. An hour later, she wore a tailored silver suit. Her hair was styled simply. No excessive jewelry, just the silver locket on a new chain. At 8:50 a.m., David knocked on the door. He wore full formal attire, suit, medals, the family crest. He looked every inch the prince. Are you ready? No. But I'll do it anyway. He smiled, small but genuine. That's all courage ever is. They walked together through marble corridors. Staff stopped and stared. Word had spread. Something significant was happening. The throne room doors opened. 1,000 people filled the space. Nobles in the front rows. Press cameras lining the walls. A public gallery in the back. Standing room only. At the front, on a raised platform, sat 3 chairs. The center seat was for David. To the right, a chair for witnesses. To the left, 2 chairs for the accused. Duchess Margaret was already seated in the audience, face pale. Victoria stood near the side entrance, arms crossed. Torres shifted nervously beside her. David led Lena to the witness chair. She sat. He took his place in the center seat. The room fell silent. David's voice rang out, clear and steady. This assembly has been called to address a grave injustice. 15 years ago, a woman named Elena Reyes saved my life. She pulled me from the estate lake when I was drowning. My father, Duke Marcus, thanked her personally and granted her an invitation under Estate Law 203. He gestured to a screen behind him. The hospital photograph appeared. Young David, Elena, the Duke. 3 weeks ago, Elena's granddaughter, Lena Reyes, attempted to attend my celebration using that invitation. She was turned away, humiliated, and assaulted by estate security. The incident went viral. 4 million people watched her be called a liar. The photograph of the humiliation appeared on screen. Lena's champagne-stained dress, Torres standing over her. Today, I present evidence that Lena Reyes was telling the truth. That her grandmother was not a thief. That she was framed to protect a lie. He projected the testimony. The notarized document describing what Elena witnessed. Duchess Margaret with the foreign businessman. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. The Duchess closed her eyes. David's voice hardened. Victoria Ross, Commander Torres, please take your seats. Torres sat immediately. Victoria remained standing, face rigid. Your Highness, this is highly irregular. I haven't been informed of any charges. Sit down. David's voice was ice. Victoria slowly sat, jade ring glinting as she gripped the armrest. David continued methodically. He projected Dr. Park's medical report from the night of the drowning, detailing Elena's CPR and rescue. Dr. Park, are you present? An elderly woman stood in the gallery. I am, Your Highness. Is this your signature on the medical report? Yes. Every word is true. Elena saved your life. Thank you. Dr. Park sat. David projected the next document, the original invitation signed by Duke Marcus. My father issued this invitation to Elena Reyes 3 days after the incident. It grants lifetime access under Estate Law 203, which states, any citizen bearing the Duke's Crimson Seal may attend estate functions without question, in perpetuity, as recognition of extraordinary service to the family. He looked at Torres. Commander, when Lena Reyes presented this invitation 3 weeks ago, what did you do? Torres's voice was barely audible. I refused her entry. On what grounds? Victoria told me Elena's name had been struck from the registry. That she was a convicted thief. That any family member should be denied. And the invitation itself? Did you verify its authenticity? No, Your Highness. Did you check the registry to confirm the deletion was legitimate? I trusted Victoria's word. David's jaw tightened. You trusted her word over a document bearing my father's signature and the estate seal. Silence. Commander Torres, 3 weeks ago, you stepped on Lena Reyes's hand when she bent to retrieve her grandmother's locket. Do you deny this? Torres's face crumbled. No, Your Highness. I don't deny it. Why did you do it? I believed she was a threat. I was wrong. I'm deeply sorry. He turned to Lena, tears streaming. Miss Reyes, I'm deeply sorry. I have no excuse. Lena said nothing, her face calm. David turned to Victoria. Your turn. Victoria lifted her chin. Your Highness, I acted in the estate's best interest. Elena Reyes was convicted of theft. Court records confirm. Court records sealed by you within 24 hours of her conviction. Why? To protect the family from embarrassment. Or to hide the fact that evidence was fabricated. Victoria's eyes flashed. That's a serious accusation. Then let's examine it. David projected a jeweler's testimony, newly obtained by his investigator. Master Chen, estate jeweler for 35 years, stated that Victoria had instructed him to report specific pieces as missing and to confirm he'd seen Elena near the Duchess's quarters. Master Chen is here today. Would you like to call him a liar to his face? An elderly man stood in the gallery, hands trembling but voice strong. I have lived with that shame for 15 years, Your Highness. I'm ready to tell the truth now. Victoria's composure cracked. He's mistaken. It was 15 years ago. Memory is unreliable. Then explain this. David projected a bank transfer record. 3 days after Elena's conviction, Victoria had transferred $5,000 from a private account to Master Chen. The memo read, consultation fee. What consultation? Victoria said nothing. I'll tell you. You paid him to lie. You framed Elena because she witnessed something you needed to hide. He projected Elena's testimony, the description of the affair, the meeting in the garden, the foreign businessman. The room erupted. Voices overlapped. Camera shutters clicked furiously. David raised his hand for silence. Duchess Margaret, please stand. His mother rose slowly from the audience. She looked frail, decades older than her 55 years. Is this testimony accurate? Her voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Did you have an affair with businessman Robert Chen? Yes. Did you know Elena Reyes witnessed it? Yes. Did you ask Victoria to handle the situation? Duchess Margaret's tears fell. Yes. I didn't know what she would do. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. That makes me complicit. I take full responsibility. She turned to Lena. I'm sorry. Those words are worthless, but they're all I have. Lena stood. The room held its breath. Your Grace, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because my grandmother taught me that mercy isn't for the guilty, it's for the wounded. Carrying your guilt would only hurt me. So I release it. She paused. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequence. What you did will follow you. As it should. Duchess Margaret nodded, weeping openly. Thank you. You're more gracious than I have any right to expect. David gestured for his mother to sit. She collapsed into her chair. He turned back to Victoria. Victoria Ross, you orchestrated a 15-year cover-up. You framed an innocent woman. You paid witnesses to lie. You deleted registry records. You ordered estate security to assault a citizen with legitimate credentials. His voice was final. Under Estate Justice Code Section 91, these actions constitute conspiracy, evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and abuse of power. Each charge carries a minimum sentence of 5 years. Victoria shot to her feet. Everything I did to protect this estate. The Duchess's affair would have destroyed the family's reputation. Elena was collateral damage for the greater good. Collateral damage? David's voice was dangerously quiet. She was a human being. A hero. And you turned her into a criminal to save your own position. I was protecting the family. No. You were protecting yourself. He gestured to the guards. Take her into custody. 2 officers approached. Victoria backed away, wild-eyed. You can't do this. I've served this family for 30 years. And you've sacrificed everything. You sacrificed nothing. You sacrificed other people. David's voice was absolute. Remove her. The guards took Victoria by the arms. As they led her past Lena, she spat one last sentence. You'll always be the orphan who got lucky. That's all you are. Lena looked her in the eye. And you'll always be the woman who destroyed a hero. I know which I'd rather be. Victoria was escorted out. The jade ring slipped from her finger and clattered on the marble floor. No one picked it up. David addressed the assembly with his final rulings. The estate issues the following decisions. Victoria Ross, stripped of all titles and properties. 15 years imprisonment. Assets liquidated to establish the Elena Reyes Justice Fund. $2.5 million for citizens wrongfully accused. Commander Torres, dishonorably discharged. 5 years imprisonment for assault and discrimination. Pension revoked. Duchess Margaret, resignation from all public duties effective immediately. You will retain your title but hold no governmental power. You will personally fund 50 scholarships in Elena Reyes's name, $1.5 million from your personal estate. His mother nodded, eyes closed. Finally, estate security protocols will be reformed immediately. An independent review board will investigate all sealed cases from the past 30 years. Any wrongful convictions will be overturned and reparations paid. He stood, the family crest gleaming on his chest. This estate failed Elena. We will not fail her granddaughter. He walked down from the platform and stopped in front of Lena. He removed his formal sash, deep purple silk embroidered with gold, and placed it over her shoulders. You are under the estate's protection. Anyone who harms you harms me. The room exploded into applause. Cameras flashed. Lena stood frozen, the weight of the sash settling on her shoulders. David leaned close, voice low enough that only she could hear. This is just the beginning. If you'll let me, I want to rebuild what they broke. Not just for you, for everyone they silenced. How? I'm establishing an estate reform commission. Independent oversight of wrongful convictions and abuse of power. I want you to lead it. Lead it. I'm not qualified. You're the only one qualified. You've survived what we're trying to fix. Will you do it? She thought of her grandmother. The locket. The bridge railing. The champagne-stained dress. Yes. David smiled, genuine and warm. Then let's get to work. 6 months passed. The Elena Reyes Justice Fund reviewed 180 cases. 38 wrongful convictions were overturned. Families received reparations totaling $2.8 million. Lena enrolled at Capital University, studying law. Classes in the morning, commission meetings in the afternoon, therapy 3 evenings weekly. Dr. Park's colleague, Dr. Mills, taught her that healing wasn't linear. Some days she felt strong. Other days, the weight of everything crushed her. Both were valid. The viral video stayed online. She stopped reading comments, but she wouldn't take it down. It was evidence, a scar that told the truth. Elena's house opened in Riverside 8 months after the assembly. Legal aid, job training, mental health services. Dr. Park ran medical services. Marcus managed the library. The village elders who had demanded Lena's apology now volunteered there. Action couldn't undo complicity, but it could begin addressing it. Lena visited monthly, taught rights workshops, listened to people the system had broken. She didn't forgive everyone. Some wounds stayed wounds. But she learned to carry them without being defined by them. Victoria served her sentence in silence. Her daughter visited quarterly, not reconciling, just trying to understand. Accountability mattered more than forgiveness. Duchess Margaret funded the scholarships as promised. She wrote Lena one letter. You are the leader I never was. Thank you for showing mercy. Lena never responded. Some boundaries were permanent. Torres wrote from prison. Apologies, explanations, regrets. Lena read the first letter, then asked the estate to stop forwarding them. Forgiveness doesn't require relationship. David kept his promise. No rushing, no pushing. They worked side by side, partners becoming friends. One evening after a difficult hearing, they walked the estate gardens. "Do you regret it?" David asked. "You could have walked away. Started over somewhere else." "Every day," Lena admitted. "But I also wake up and choose to stay. That's the difference between surviving and living. You're braver than you think. I'm more tired than you think." She smiled. "But I'm still here. That's all courage is," David said. "Showing up again." Lena looked at the lake, then at him. "Thank you for searching." His hand found hers. "Thank you for letting me find you." 18 months after the assembly, David was named heir apparent after his mother's official retirement. Lena stood beside him as chief advisor on justice reform, a newly created position. The ceremony drew 40,000 spectators. When David took his oath, he paused and turned to Lena. "None of this means anything if we don't remember why we're here. This estate was built on the backs of people like Elena, heroes the system tried to erase." He lifted a document. "My first act as heir, I'm issuing formal pardons, posthumously, for every wrongful conviction overturned by the Reform Commission. 38 names. 38 families." He looked directly at the cameras. "Starting with Elena Reyes, who gave me life twice. Once in a lake, once by refusing to let injustice be invisible." The crowd erupted. Lena stood, silver locket catching the light, and finally allowed herself to cry. Not from pain, but from release. Later, in the quiet of the estate library, David found her staring at her grandmother's portrait, newly hung in the Hall of Heroes. "She'd be proud of you," he said. "She'd be proud we didn't forget," Lena corrected. "That's all she wanted, to be remembered. She'll never be forgotten now." Lena turned to him. "Neither will you. The reformer heir." "I prefer the heir who listened." She smiled, genuine and easy. "That works too." They stood in comfortable silence. Outside, gentle rain began to fall. Not the storm of humiliation, but the cleansing kind. Lena reached for David's hand. He took it, and they stood together, watching water run clean. 2 years after that night at Morrison Bridge, Lena returned to Riverside District. She drove herself, a modest car, nothing extravagant. She wore jeans and her university sweatshirt. The silver locket, as always, hung around her neck. Elena's house had grown. 3 buildings now: medical wing, library, counseling center. 200 families served monthly. She taught that afternoon, Know Your Rights under Estate Law 203. 30 people attended, all carrying stories the system had tried to bury. Afterward, a young woman approached, maybe 20, nervous. "Miss Reyes? I'm Nina. I saw your video 2 years ago. The one at the manor gates." Lena's chest tightened, but she smiled. "And everyone was calling you a liar. I believed them. Then the truth came out, and I realized I'd been taught to side with power automatically. You changed that." Nina's voice cracked. "You made me question who I believe and why." Lena took her hand. "Don't let anyone tell you you're too small to matter. You're not." Nina nodded, tears falling, and walked away lighter. Dr. Park joined Lena in the courtyard with 2 cups of tea. "She's not the first. And she won't be the last. You've given people permission to be seen. Grandmother gave me permission. I'm just passing it on. Elena would be so proud." Lena smiled. "I hope so." That evening, David called. They spoke most nights now, sometimes about work, sometimes about nothing at all. How was the workshop? Full. Powerful. Exhausting. Good exhausted or bad exhausted? The kind that reminds me why I didn't jump off that bridge. Silence. Then David's voice, soft. "I'm glad you didn't." "Me too. Dinner tomorrow. I'll cook." Lena laughed. You can't cook. I'll order takeout and pretend I made it. Deal. She hung up, smiling. Later, she sat at her grandmother's grave. Fresh flowers. Clean headstone. The inscription read, Elena Reyes, hero, weaver, truth-teller, 1950 to 2023. She dove in without hesitation. So should we all. Lena traced the letters. I did it, grandmother. I made them remember you. And I didn't disappear. The wind rustled through silver flowers planted around the grave. David's idea. She thought about the girl she'd been 2 years ago. Soaked, humiliated, holding torn paper in the rain. She thought about the woman she was now. Tired but unbroken, flawed but fighting. The journey wasn't over. Some days still felt impossible. But she'd learned something crucial. Courage wasn't fearlessness. It was showing up afraid and doing it anyway. Standing when they told you to kneel. Existing when they wanted you erased. Lena stood, brushed dirt from her knees, and walked back to her car. Tomorrow she'd return to the capital. Classes, commission hearings, therapy, dinner with David. But tonight she drove home to Riverside, the district that had shunned her and now celebrated her, and slept in her own bed. No nightmares. Just gentle rain on the roof and the quiet knowledge that she'd survived. Have you ever been made invisible by people who should have seen you? Have you faced injustice and wondered if speaking up was worth it? Lena's story reminds us that our voices matter, our dignity is non-negotiable, and our existence is not up for debate. Comment below. What would you do in Lena's position? Have you ever chosen truth over silence? Share your story. Someone needs to hear it. Like this video if Lena's journey moved you. Subscribe for more powerful stories about courage, redemption, and the quiet power of refusing to disappear. Next story. The teacher's daughter who became a judge and tried her own father. Dropping Friday. Remember, the most powerful act of resistance is refusing to believe what cruelty says about your worth. You are not invisible. You never were.